Welcome back to another video, guys. Hope you had a good week. Got a small setup now. Some of my things with me. I'm in Africa, Uganda, in a long-term Airbnb for now. Let's get this market breakdown. So we're going to start the market analysis off with the monthly time frame, as usual. We're not going to focus too much on this current month because we've only had 6 days in April, okay? But what I want to try and highlight is what we briefly went over in the last market analysis is that when we have all-time highs, and the monthly starts to range, then followed by a drop. Monthly range followed by a drop. All-time highs. Monthly range followed by a drop. So on and so forth. Monthly range drop. Monthly range drop. What I also want to try and highlight is when we get that drop, where do we go? So usually we retest highs. So of course, this is one of my first major targets as we keep dropping. Again, we broke out, we retested the previous broken resistance. Broke out, retest, previous broken resistance. So on and so forth. Okay. This time here we had the retest of the lows. The lows were held, which again, if we're following market structure, we can come all the way down to this previous low and we can still stay bullish, which is exactly what happened here. We had price push up, it came back, tested these lows, couldn't maintain below, and then continued back up for higher highs and higher lows into bullish structure. Okay, so bear that in mind. So again, my first major target as we keep falling on the month. This is later down the line. We'll be retesting these highs. After that will possibly be this area here, these lows. Why do I mention that area? Again, we've got price broke up, price engulfed. There was no retest, a hell of a lot of imbalance. You could say demand. So those would be my next target areas if we break below 36, if we break below 37, sorry, and we maintain bearish momentum, those would be my future targets. But that's way later on down the line. Let's just see how we go for next week. If we go down to the weekly time frame, we can see these were the targets we were looking at last week. No, these were the targets we were looking at last week because this was the last week candle here. So when this candle closed here, we targeted these lows. As you can see, it sank all the way through those lows. It then broke through the next target lows, which were here. It's then broken through the next target lows, which were here, which is where we're sitting right now. And as you can imagine, next target lows, is weekly lows will be this area here. Okay, so if I quickly just get rid of all of these as we broke through all of those, to hold bearish momentum, as you've seen, drop, drop, we're going to expect either it will have some sort of consolidation and drop to these lows here and retest, or we're going to have a major pullback. Now, also keep in mind, we broke through these levels so fast that it's possible we may just continue falling before we get any major pullback. It's possible. If we do get a major pullback, we'll expect to come back down to these lows and then hopefully retest these levels and then hopefully break even further past and head down to those 33 levels. As we spoke about demand, you can see that on the weekly, you can see it's refined down further to close to 33 levels. For next week, we'd be expecting a pullback because we can't just sell randomly right here. We need some sort of consolidation or a retracement to then be able to get into the market. So let's go down to the daily time frame. So we can clearly see here, market structure is broken. So we have higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Then we have a break of this low, retest these highs. Bulls could not maintain, drop back down, break this low again. So now we're in lower lows and lower high territory. We're bearish. So we are at the low range. We can't sell right here, close to our target levels, but there's nothing you can do right now. So what I'd be looking for is some sort of consolidation and then a possible liquidity sweep, and then we continue bearish, or a major pullback. Now the consolidation, we can't do anything until then. We can't analyze it because we haven't seen it yet. What we can expect though is a pullback. We had, if we quickly go back to the weekly actually, we had a break of these lows. As you can see, this candle was the first one that broke these lows. We had the retest. We've now had the candle push further down. We've broken through all these lows. So it's a possibility that we could come back and retest any of those areas. Go back down to the daily. We broke this low, which we did not retest. So this would be the first area I'd be hoping for price to come back to retest Okay, because as you can see, we had the lower low, lower high, and I've created the lower low. We have not had the retest of that level. So that's the first area I'd be looking at. This is on the daily time frame. Of course, this is a very, very long way to go up. Usually I would not trend counter trend, but in this case, as we've got how many points is this? We have, if this did retrace the whole way, we have 2,600 points roughly. I wouldn't just sit through all of that because I know that once we do start retracing, of course, we'd have minor time frame bullish momentum, and then we can have the continued drop down. So as for now, for next week, we move down to the 4 hour. Now, this whole drop, there's nothing we can do right now. We're too far. We're too far down. I'm sure you've heard the term buy low and sell high. So if you were to get into any positions here, there'd be buy trades. Sell high, we'd be waiting for the retest so we can sell it back down to the lows. So now the only thing we can try and concentrate on is waiting for the change of momentum. So as we already spoke about in this example, before we had this retracement, we said we need volume to switch from all this bear volume. As you can see, the candles in the bear of the bear volume is much bigger. Big bear candles, smaller bullish candles. Big bear candles. When price turned around, we had big bull candles, smaller bear candles. As you can imagine, this is what we call a momentum shift. And of course, change of character or break of structure, higher highs and higher lows, trend reversal. All these terms all mean pretty much the same thing. We've changed from moving bearish to moving bullish. Of course, keeping in mind this is a minor retracement, okay? Because the main leg is this drop on the daily, retracement, and the continued low. So I'm expecting to see something like this over the next week. We'd have to have some sort of retracement. We'd see on the 4 hour, we'd see some price action of accumulation of some candles in Asia and New York, and then sorry, in Asia and London, and then New York can hopefully come in, and we can have some big bullish candles, and then we can have some small retracements, and then we can start taking this back up to the upside. So my bias is definitely still bearish for the long term, simply because we've had so much volume. You can imagine I think we do still have some more downside to go. We'll also see how the market opens. The market is probably going to gap because we had such a lot of volume. If you use fibs, you could see from this level to this level, you could see that these retracement levels that we need to retest would line up with the 61.8 retracement. I don't normally use fibs, but I'm just giving this to you just if this is your kind of thing, if you use fibs. If we go to the 1 hour time frame, so what are we looking for here to try to see if we can get this reversal? We need to see an accumulation of candles, first thing. Not on the 1 hour, but even on the 4 hour. We've had so much bear volume that one bullish engulfing candle will not turn this around. As you can see, we had this multiple times as a trap for people to get in. We had bullish engulfing candle, led nowhere. Market completely sank. Bullish engulfing candle, turned straight back around. Three hammer candles, nothing, came back down. Another hammer candle, nothing, came back down. So when the momentum is so strong on a much larger time frame, like the 4 hour, the daily, one candle alone will not give you that reversal. It's not ideal to take it anyway. So what we want to see is maybe a descending channel or price moving corrective, or we want to see a range. Just want to see a range, and then we can see liquidity, and then we can start to see the structure change back to the upside. That's what we'll be looking for to then try and run that up. Now, also keep in mind that volume is a lot higher on the drop, which means when we do get that range or that ascending channel, when price finally turns back around, it'll be moving a little slower than it did coming down. It's usually slower. So it should hopefully give us some opportunities to then take those buy trades back up to the support turn resistance. Also keep in mind that when we are on a minor retracement level, price doesn't move as smooth or as fast. And a lot of the time, it does create positions where it can wick people out. So as you can see here, price moves up, price comes back down. Wicks a lot of the buyers out on the smaller time frames. Price moves up, moves back down. Price moves up, comes back down. So it's taking out all the buyers as it's going along. So you need to be very careful, very mindful when you're taking your buy trades, where you put your stops. Because when it's retracing, it's wicking a lot of people out. All the buyers that thought that this was the previous low, guess what happened? Came back, took all the buyers out, came back to previous low support and shot all the way back up. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, what are we looking for when we do get back up to these retest levels? So if we switch this around, get rid of this, get rid of this. So what we'll be looking for, I'll be checking on the 4 hour to see an accumulation of candles, just like you saw in this area here. We got to the resistance level, just like here. We reached the resistance level. We had the accumulation of candles. So I'll be waiting for an accumulation of candles, makes its way up, and we start to accumulate in this area. When you see accumulation on the 4 hour, it's a good indication that there's a possibility price could reverse to the other side. So we're at resistance level number one. We'll have the retrace leg number two. We will see the structure as we move back up. Number three, it should show that it's moving in higher lows and higher highs without, of course, breaking this low, which will confirm the retracement. Volume will be a lot lower than this drop here. Again, indication of retracement. So all these components we're keeping in mind. Once we do have this consolidation, an accumulation of candles, maybe a ascending channel or a double top setup, we need to see some sort of accumulation on the 4 hour. Then we need to wait for the final thing. The final thing before we enter is the change of volume when we get the volume switch. So as you can see here, I always talk about volume switch. Big bull candles, small bear candles, big bull candles, small bear candles, big bull candles. Then we had a big bear candle and small bull candles, bigger bear candles, small bull candles. So you can see the volume switch. Once you get the volume switch, then you can start looking at your entry. I don't know what your entry looks like, what your strategy looks like, but once you have that, it doesn't matter which strategy you're in. It's clear to see that we're now in lower low and lower high territory. We've turned back around. Okay, keep that in mind. So that's exactly what I'll be looking for once we reach these retest levels. There are a few more things, a few more tips to how US30 moves, which will confirm that we're going to keep this bearish momentum. But I'll keep that for my one-on-one clients. I have set up a link below. So if you want to book your one-on-one spot, we can do a coaching session. We talk about how US30 moves specifically. We can talk about some of the more advanced techniques that most people don't really talk about on YouTube. So those I'll keep for my one-on-one coaching sessions. But as for now, for this week or next week, should I say, sorry, that's where we're at with US30. There's not much analysis to be done at the level we're at now. We need to wait for more data. Never be afraid to just say we need more data. Just sit on your hands, wait for the next trade. Have a good week, guys. Catch you next week.